I'm Dr. Rick with Herbal 411, and I'm going to explain to you why I think these are just as important as this. Let me explain. So I'm a physician in family practice and integrative medicine. I happen to be also sports medicine trained, but I take care of people. My job has always been to listen, figure out, and treat what comes into the office. In some cases, people come in without complaints and they just come in for a wellness exam. And if we find something wrong, we'll give you a medicine to take care of that. And I just think that's a band-aid for trying to figure out, why did that medical problem start? Life has to be balanced. We have to learn to think outside the box, and your doctor should be learning to think outside the box. I would really want in my clinic to figure out what root cause is. Root cause analysis is an engineering term, but I apply it to a lot of my patients that come in seeking help or seeking direction. And it's important to know what to do. Health is not in the amount of retirement money you have. Health is in how you can move, how you can interact, how good your brain works. So I'm gonna be hitting 60 in a couple months, and I plan on hitting Everest Base Camp. That's just a personal goal of mine. If you're on a journey to get healthy and optimize your life and not have disease, that equilibrates to a healthy lifespan and a healthy health span. Lifespan is just the amount of years that you have available to you. And there are parts of the world where you can get to 100. I think having wealth is great, but having health is better. My first adventure into distance walking was a marathon. 2009, I did a marathon. 2010, I repeated that marathon after my mom passed away from pancreatic cancer. I hit the wall. I couldn't continue running at about the 13-mile mark. I decided not to turn in my chip. I said, I'm going to do this for my mom. So I kept on walking. And I thought it was very empowering. I was by myself some of the time. I was with other walkers some of the time. I remember being behind a man with a prosthetic leg. And I could tell he was suffering because he had to change his leg, his prosthesis every once in a while. And I thought, you know what, if he could do it, I must do it. So whoever he was, thank you. That inspired me. And I decided from 2010 onward, I'm going to start walking. I don't have to run anymore. I don't have to prove time or speed. I'm just going to walk. I started with my first national park, Yosemite. And from that point, I fell in love with it. After I finished the accomplishment of hiking and climbing on Half Dome, life was different after that. I've continued every year. In fact, I'm now going a couple times a year to different places with other people. I continue to do that, and I know the value of that because it helped me reset, helped me put a pause on all the crap that was happening, unplug from the crap that was happening, not really run away from the crap, but just figure things out. I'm very spiritual, and sometimes in solitude or in silence, it's easier to figure out what that message is here and here. It makes you reflect. The average person, especially in silence, really feels uncomfortable. However, it's counterintuitive when you have initially that silence and you start to bring out ideas that are percolating inside your heart and brain. Let that subside, and in about 5 to 10 minutes, let the thoughts come out. Creativity blossoms from silence, and ingenuity blossoms from creativity. From that, you'll have solutions develop. So that's why the blue zones, there's several parts of the world where Dan Buettner found people made it to 100 years of age and older. The link, you had Costa Rica, you had Icaria, you had Loma Linda, California, you had Sardinia, but all these places that he was able to find a high concentration of centenarians, people who made 100 years of age. There was a common theme. It was a mostly plant-based whole food diet, spirituality, a feeling of a need, meaning you usually were plugged into a family. The other thing was walking. Loma Linda, California, there's the Seventh-day Adventists. They always unplug and walk on the seventh day, Sunday. And then today is Sunday too. I'll be going to church with my son. I try to make it a point to reflect every Sunday, almost like a mini detox or mini hike, just to being in silence and figure things out. And again, going back to what I mentioned, the solitude gives you that opportunity, but most of us feel that's uncomfortable. Sometimes because when you have those thoughts or those things that resonate in your heart come out, might be a tsunami of stuff that hits you all at the same time. It's like, holy shit, that's way too much stuff. I'm gonna have to get on here to distract myself because it's really uncomfortable. If you can't figure it out on your own, get a therapist to help guide you. The idea is to listen to those check engine lights and then answer them. And they might not be, your car is going to be blowing up in 5 minutes. It might just be change your oil, or it might be your tire's a little low. And if it's that, you fix it and you continue going forward. There's a psychologist by the name of Frances Shapiro out of Stanford who also figured that same thing out, and that's where I base a lot of my ideas for. She found that in the stress of her schedule of taking care of counseling, she'd have to step away, and sometimes she'd walk outside. And she found that when she walked outside and came back in, even in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the stress level decreased. And with that, she thought, I might have something here. So I believe she took people out. She took patients out at first to see if the counseling worked better, and it did. But obviously you can't take people out all the time because number one, it's going to rain sooner or later. In Chicago, it's going to snow, and you just can't take people out because your time limit. But she developed this thing called EMDR, eye movement dissociative reprocess. But it's a technique where you bring out the stressor. You don't have to go deep into it, but just bring it out, identify it. And then you do eye movement exercises, and then you identify with something cool. So what she found is that if you use eye movement to go into therapy, you can actually turn off this alarm called the amygdala in the brain. That's dissociative thinking. So if you can turn off the alarm without needing psilocybin or ketamine, or I think in some cases cannabis, you can actually not have that fight or flight response in the middle of the night when it's in silence and you're bored. So, a lot of people will buy stuff middle of the night, or they'll hit pornography middle of the night because they're bored and they don't like that signal. You just have to identify that the signals probably mean you have to take a look at them or peer into what are these signals? Are they check engine lights, or are they just warnings? And if you can get to that point where you're comfortable and you don't freak out, you can actually see your journey in getting to 100 years of age. Or even if you don't want to get to 100 years of age, if that doesn't resonate with you, just get to 70 years of age without the extra weight, without the blood pressure medicines, without the feelings of remorse or I never did this. I mean, you have to think, a lot of people when they die, they don't think, I wish I could take my money with me. They usually say, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have gone to the Grand Canyon. That is exactly why I use training or excursions, DrRic hiking excursions. I'll put a link down below. That's why I take people out with me now, is because it's so cool to see the faces of my hikers, my warriors, and that go on excursions with me. It's so cool to see the faces as we hit a summit or a vista. It doesn't even have to be a high 14,000 foot mountain. It can actually be just the Bryce Canyon. I just took a group to the Bryce Canyon, and it was a group of strangers, 11 of us, most of us strangers, but I just took them after training a couple months in the Illinois Forest Preserve, which is not sexy at all, but I just kept on holding that goal. You guys have to be in shape, so come out and meet me every couple weeks at a forest preserve for a couple hours. So number one, it got them out, and number two, it gave them a goal to shoot for. There's something cool that's coming at the end of this, so I'm going to invest. Cool, because the most recent excursion that I ran, those 11 people that were strangers, by the time 3 days passed, it was a cohesive group that was really supportive. It wasn't finishing in miles, it wasn't hitting an altitude change or an elevation change. It was just accomplishing something cool and allowing nature to help us get to that point. You always have to make sure that you're healthy, and there's ways to do that, and I always take care of my patients before I put them on this kind of journey. But after you've been checked out and we've declared and stabilized all medical problems, pick up a pair of hiking sticks and just start training. I hope this helps you kind of figure things out. If you're lost, consult with me and be a warrior. Next time you pass by a forest preserve, an ocean, a beach, a field, just pull into the parking lot, take a pause for 2.5 to 5 minutes and just sit there. And it might feel uncomfortable, but if you do it enough, you'll actually start to feel something release. I guarantee you. And if you don't, you come out to one of our excursions or one of our trainings and I'll teach you. Like Frances Shapiro found, if you can vacillate between parasympathetic and sympathetic and be really good, meaning the stress and fight or flight response or the love response, if you can go between those two things, which usually happens when you're on a trail and hiking, you'll be the anti-inflammatory god that you're supposed to be. We all have to do that. Whether you get to it by medicines or whether you get to it by natural factors, it's totally up to you, but I just want to present to you that there are options. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of an idea. Don't forget to hit the like button if this helped, or share this with somebody who's suffering or lost, and subscribe. I do these videos all the time. It's not just hiking. I do medical videos. I do unboxings. So hopefully this will serve you in a nice way. So thanks for watching up to this point in time, and I'll see you at the next video.